I got caught out in that blizzard and it's felt like a bit of a race against time. Look how much darker it's just got as soon as the snow started. These conditions are amazing. As you can see, the weather is pretty horrible. You can see the rain just in front of the huge mountains there. And I am heading to a spot just up there in between these mountains here, which will hopefully be nice and sheltered. But just look at this place. It really is something else no matter the weather. But let's get up to that spot. Hopefully be nice and sheltered out of this horrible weather. I had pictured blue skies and amazing views, but as usual you come to the Scottish Highlands and the forecast, you just can't predict it. This weather is mental, but it doesn't really matter what the weather's like. This place is always just stunning. You can see some snow just clinging to the tops of the hills where it's a bit colder. Just rain down here, unfortunately. This section's really cool. Little bridge to cross the river. I believe this is the River Cole. It's definitely flowing quite fast. Really cool. And I'm heading upwards. That's the hard part done. It really is quite steep to start off. You're covering a good couple hundred meters of elevation in a really short distance. But works up a sweat. It's definitely warming me up. Whew. This weather is wild. Oh man. Look at the views now though. You can see over to the Annakeagak Ridge, and just over there is the road where I started. Oh man. Let's keep going though. Get off this camp spot. This is where it does get a little bit interesting. It's just like a huge gorge down to my left with pretty steep drops. You wouldn't want to fall off that. And I'm heading up into the Lost Valley. Luckily the rain stopped. Still a bit windy. But this may be the last view we get of Glencoe. Look at that, that's something else. That was definitely the sketchiest bit so far. Actually quite tough. It's steepening a wee bit, as you can see. Just winding my way up this glen. And this bit actually was quite tough, as you can see, but there's loads of handholds sort of up here and you can just sort of come up this ledge, and I'm sure it'd be fine when the rocks aren't slippy. I think that's actually a bit of snow. Just the tiniest bit in the air. Must be because I'm getting higher. And I'm heading up even higher. Well, the timing there was impeccable. Started snowing as soon as I pulled out the camera. Hopefully it continues to snow. That's just made this a lot more interesting. Look how much darker it's just got as soon as the snow started. That really is something. These conditions are amazing. In 2 days' time, it is actually the shortest day of the year. So you only get, I mean, probably less than 8 hours of sunlight. So more darkness is definitely not something I want. But when snow's involved, I'm involved. Welcome to the Lost Valley of Glencoe. Wow, what a place. With these steep-sided walls and then an incredibly flat valley bottom down here. These conditions are pretty mental. It's almost white out. So I think I'm just gonna head in that direction and try and find somewhere to camp. The tent is up and is looking good. There's actually a little robin, I think, next to my tent. Don't know what it's doing up here, but it's actually brightened up quite a bit. You can now see the tops of one of the mountains. I think that might be Stobcorry Screamash, probably the wrong pronunciation. And then up in that direction's Bidjan Nambian. And just look at this place. It really is something else. Over in that direction, that just follows the riverbed all the way down, and the path is somewhere sort of up here, just following it down, looking towards the Anakigak Ridge. But I'm going to do some exploring before the weather turns and it gets dark, so I'll head deeper into the Lost Valley. It has to be one of the best spots in all of Scotland to come and camp, and I think the last of the people I've just left up there, so I think I've got it to myself, which makes it all the more special. I mean, just look at this place. It's already significantly more windy, and I don't know if you'll be able to make it out, but my tent is just over there, so I thought that would be more sheltered, and it seems to be. This place is definitely cooler, but a lot more exposed. And there's loads of flat spots you definitely could pitch around here. Holy moly, that wind. But I think I'll head further up, see what the views are like. I've been here a few times before, once to camp and twice for hiking. And I think when I camped, I was just over there, which is a pretty good spot as well. There's not a bad spot in this place, to be honest. And one of the other times I was heading up to do the Munros, and the path actually goes all the way up that gully there, which from here looks virtually impossible, but I did do it. That is the way. I'm not going to be doing those Munros today for a couple reasons. One is that it's 2:30 right now and the sun sets at 3:30. I think I mentioned it before that in a couple of days is the shortest day of the year, so the amount of sunlight is just minimal. And the other reason is we're actually forecast some pretty horrible weather, even worse than that blizzard I just experienced. We're forecast sort of like 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts at the tops of the Munros, which is why I picked this spot. As you can see, I'm sort of sheltered on all sides. Every time I turn around and look at that, I'm blown away. But yeah, I'm sheltered on all sides in here, so I still feel the wind, but nowhere near as bad. Starting to reach patches of snow now. Right, I think this is as far as I'm going to go. Don't have any crampons on my feet, so don't think it's very safe to continue when there's snow. But look at that, huge gully there, really impressive. And you can tell it's starting to get a bit darker up here. Clouds are sort of rolling in. What a view though. I'm so glad I decided to come up here. It didn't take me long at all. I'd say maybe from the bottom of Glencoe up to the hidden valley was maybe an hour, less than an hour. So it's not a lot of effort for this reward, which, I mean, look at that. It's not half bad, is it? Right, I've been chilling and enjoying these views for far too long. I'm just mesmerised by this big gully. Something else. But it's 3:05 and I can tell it's starting to get quite dark. Sun sets in about 20 minutes. So I'll enjoy these views for 5 minutes and then make my way back to the tent. Well, I don't know what it's been like to watch so far, but it's felt pretty hectic. I got caught out in that blizzard and it's felt like a bit of a race against time. So I'm glad to be safe in my tent. I've had a bit of an upgrade to my sleep system, so I thought I'd show you. I bought the Thermarest NeoAir X-Therm, which is significantly warmer than my last sleeping pad. Proper winter one, and as you can see it's pretty thick, so it does the job nicely. And I'm using the Rabascent 900 sleeping bag, and then I've got the Sea to Summit blow-up pillow. So yeah, it's pretty light and it keeps me nice and warm in the winter. I've used this exact sleep system twice now in minus conditions both times, and it worked perfectly. It kept me nice and warm, and it does say it goes down to like minus 30 degrees Celsius. It's never going to get that cold in Scotland, and I'm not even sure I'd want to try it in that, to be honest. But yeah, for Scotland it's definitely good enough, even if it's going to get down to sort of like minus 10 like it did a couple camps ago. But yeah, I'm just going to chill out, listen to the sound of the wind hitting the walls of this glen, and I'll see you guys again in the morning. Man, this weather is absolutely horrible. Proper heavy rain, and it's actually starting to pull up right outside the tent. Man, that is not snow anymore. The Lost Valley is looking pretty gloomy this morning, and as you can see there's rivers forming and as always I've left no trace. You can see huge puddles forming right next to where I was sleeping, and that wasn't there last night. Proper raging torrent coming off the side of the hill. It's quite cool in these conditions, but pretty horrible to be out in. Let's head deeper into the glen. Pretty horrible this morning, or atmospheric we'll call it. Look at this river that's just formed right in the centre of the glen, just meandering its way through. That's really cool. I'm not going to go up there because it is pretty miserable, but just enjoying the view of the Lost Valley one last time. Such a cool place. Right, it's time for me to go, and I'm heading sort of up in this direction, and then you go up and over this little bit, and then you just follow the stream the same way I came in. Look at these waterfalls. So cool, they've just formed overnight, just so much rain. Right, let's go. I'm getting soaked here. Interesting. This is the path. Oof. So slippy. This is an absolute madness. I mean, just look at the volume of water flowing down this river compared to yesterday. There must have been some serious rainfall overnight. I pretty much heard it from about midnight onwards, and it hasn't stopped, and it's like 10 o'clock right now. So that is a lot of rain. It's pretty slippy on the way down here, but I've made it past the worst parts. There's some pretty steep, like sort of rocky sections, but the rest of the path is pretty decent. So I think I'm going to leave you here. I hope you've enjoyed this camp. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Getting out in some pretty testing conditions is always good fun, and just seeing how much you can handle. And this area is just absolutely beautiful. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure.